I will start maybe one or two of you to introduce yourself, and then that can give us, myself, an audience, and a starting point. So maybe I see from Karma, can you introduce yourself and say something about yourself, like who you are and what you do, and what piqued your interest with CrawlQ?
Sure. Good day, everybody. My name is Karma Ovicchio. Most people call me KL. I am the social media alchemist, so I help you repurpose content. I specifically work with event planners and people that are in the events industry, and it's good to be here. What made me decide to look at CrawlIQ is I'm getting a lot of people who don't have the time to write their own content. They'd rather just be the creative. And so I'm thinking of maybe adding this to my portfolio of services to assist people. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. And maybe we can do one or two more introductions. We have Ravi. Ravi, you wanted to go ahead?
I'm an enterprise software architect for a large state agency in America. And then I have built and managed systems of around $50 million in all kinds of software, enterprise software for Medicaid and medical billing softwares and stuff like that. And in last year, I started a digital marketing agency for no reason. I have no idea what does it mean. So anyway, that brought me into all this AI writing stuff. I'm so thrilled about all these AI tools coming out. I don't know, I would have even considered continuing it if I didn't find all these. I mean, to be honest, I have every one of them. I love every one of them. I have Jarvis, I have Phrase, I have Surfer, I have Crawl, but I really love the vision of this product. I mean, this is almost like a complete marketing tutorial for anybody who begins to have everything in one place, and not to combine the products or anything. It is like having automatic scripts, having Jim AdWords, having funnel scripts, having everything in one place. I mean, I see that as the vision. I really like the product. Great. I see the long-term vision, and then this is something all in one place. I see it, and I don't know what anybody sees. I'm new to the marketing world, but I can see from enterprise software architect view that you don't have to go to the 10 different places to find it. I mean, I don't know what's going on in everybody's feeling, but that's my. Anyway, that's me.
Before I could start, I have Wilts. He has a question also. Can you develop signature program with CrawlQ? Maybe you wanted to explain yourself.
Yes, Harish. I'm Waltz Alexander. I'm right now transitioning from a project management consultant to doing a lot of executive coaching. Right. And from time to time, there are specific topics that I want to provide some content on. It could be, for instance, senior people doing zero-based budgeting or transitioning from COO to CEO. And I want to learn more about how the demo files could be used to give me a faster start on creating that without going through all of the wealth, as Ravi said, of different ways, different modules that are in the research to help me get there faster. So I'm not spending 3 days trying to go through all the questions. I can spend 30 minutes or an hour, go through the questions or go through a demo, be able to put out a piece of content. So that would be helpful to me. And along with that, I don't understand the credit process. So if you work on one project and work on another one, then work on another one, I know the credits keep going up or you keep losing, but how do you get more and what's the practice around that? So that would be very helpful to me, sir. Thank you.
Sure. I'll briefly explain these two parts. So, of course, there are demo workspaces. They are from web design to extended reality to robotics to podcasting to 3D printing to e-commerce. There are 30 of them, and we are continuously developing. So when you pull a demo workspace, it has a fundamental part in it, 5 major categories of define your niche, define your demographics, semantics, and psychographics is covered in those 4 categories. and you can rewrite on those. You can change some of the nuances, perspective. That way you don't utilize credit, right? You can play around with it. But the thing is, these are business ideas. And before I can jump into this CrawlQ approach, what I want to tell is niche in CrawlQ is single person, one person. So we are talking about one single person all the time when we start. So let's say this single person's name is Fred. So Fred has fears, he wants results, he has expectations, he has desire. And Fred is person whom you can go on a coffee date. Fred is someone that you know. Ravi knows someone in his area of circle. Wills, you know someone who you can go on a coffee date. Karma knows someone who can go on a coffee date. Brian, Alan, you know someone that you can easily go on a coffee date for 30-minute conversation. And in this 30 minutes, you can ask some basic questions. That is my approach for understanding my friend, right? It's a ground up approach, it's a basic approach. I'm not talking about search volumes, keywords, topics, going to Google. I'm just saying, hey, there is a person that you know, and this is my niche. And that will help us to be super specific, because what is not niche is not these topics, keywords, or any other idea that you can think of, or you can spend a lot of time with such things. But no, here we are really talking about one single person. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring some rough idea of this single person and then use AI to generalize and abstract this idea so that there are statistically significant number of Fred. And that's where our market is born. That's where we wanted to communicate with a significant number of people, but very, very specific and targeted message, very resonating message. And that's where the foundation of the CrawlQ. And without going into these details, maybe it's best that I pull up a workspace and I walk you through how it works. Will that work with everyone?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So when you first time make your project or you come to this, you can create a workspace name and put a domain name. When I say workspace is designed in a way that is always referring to your, its name of the workspace is a business idea. So 3D printing here, for example, is a business idea. But there is a person whose name is Chris. He's our Fred, for example, in this workspace. So workspace is forcing you to think always in terms of that person, right? That is important. So here you see, you asked me demo. I can pull any of these, and I already pulled one. So I start with 3D printing. I'm sure you guys are aware about 3D printing, right? Is everyone okay with 3D printing? I can take another example as well, but maybe this is there's something that or you can agree. Then this is the area where you do the market research. Now you can also ask me, hey, I don't know anything about 3D printing. I'm affiliate. I wanted to write many different topics. So there's also an opportunity that you say, hey, Fred, you want 3D printing, but I don't know about 3D printing. So let me go into this spying wizard or search intent discovery and get more idea about 3D printing. This is also possible. You can also follow this workflow. But here I will focus directly on a workflow, on a situation where you know there's a person in your circle and you are already sort of connected with this person. You know that this person can be roughly connected with your business or your idea, right? So idea is, the business idea here is 3D printing, and we are talking to a person. This person's name is Chris. So personally, I know a person whose name is Chris Perillo, right? He is into second year of his master, and this time is double master because he has already done a master program. He's looking a switch in the career. So he's a craft and art student looking for a new career to get started with 3D printing. This is not tough, right? If you know the person wills that you can take on a coffee date, coming with this first idea, right? It's not tough. It's not difficult. We are not looking here into keyword or anything. We're just making a statement. This statement is about niche. Now, I wanted to go more specific. So I wanted to take very sort of narrow approach because I wanted to be super specific. I say sub-niche craft and design students and professionals who want to increase their creativity. They are trend spotter and they are interested in additive manufacturing trends. See, from the first line, I have narrowed it down. I included student and professional also because Chris I know is a professional also. He's doing his double master. So what I was saying that we go deeper. We go from craft and art student to a professional. So each time I'm going into this person, I'm including specifics, a nuance, a specific perspective or idea, right? And I'm going further into this. I'm saying I'm going into micro niche. So craft and design engineer. Now I turned the word from student professional to engineer. Craft and design engineer interested in buying and selling 3D printing models, design plans, and interested in additive and subtractive manufacturing and rapid prototyping. It's quite a lot of statement, right? It's not easy to come up to this statement in the beginning, but I'll tell you like how I had a rough idea about Chris and how I use these insights, or maybe just talking to more and more to the Chris. I come to this idea. I came to this idea and refined this idea further. So this vertical is 3D printing software, and here comes the story of my Chris, my Fred. In this, in general, I'm talking about Fred, but every workspace has a Fred, and it says this Fred has a specific name. So Chris is someone that I was on a coffee date, and he's a craft and design engineering student. He's in the final year of his second master's. Note my words, it's very specific. He's a creator, geek, flogger, nerd, dead. I said dead because he's doing second time his master. Love Star Wars, Lego, Seattle Retro, and has a great interest in 3D printing, and he desires, it's important, he desires to have his manufacturing unit. He's searching for the most popular 3D printing design and models. So his desire is important. His desire to become an entrepreneur in the field of 3D printing. He wanted to establish his own manufacturing unit. So that's his dream. We have sort of pulled the most important desire into this statement, right? And the way it is structured is all this information here. So my niche, my Chris has a specific situation. He's studying, he's in the second year, he has a specific interest, he's in a specific situation, he's in a specific, he has a specific problem, and he has a specific desire. So it's very, very particular for this one person, and this is our niche. And once we have a rough idea about this, we can save this, and we can ask AI to generate insights. And now it was not only from coffee discussion with Chris, but also these insights helped me to come up with some ideas here. And not only this, but I also went to the Twitter profile of Chris. This is actually person Chris. You can go to Twitter and find this person. Actually, I made this demo workspace, but some of the words I took from the profile. So that's my tip to you. You can search for profile, and Twitter profiles are very, very sharp of people who wanted to write, right? And that's where I discover my niches, my friends, because that's indirect way. But I was trying to give more ground way, more like a practical approach is to just talk to person that you know is an potential customer, potential buyer. I got a question from Wells. Can you use CrawlQ to develop a coaching program for a specific Fred? As long as this coaching program is especially designed for Fred, yes, because before coaching Fred, you need to know who is Fred, what is Fred, what kind of suspicion Fred had, fears Fred had, what keeps Fred awake in the night, right? So that is cool to get Fred from profile, right? So if you run through some profiles, or best thing is if you know someone, then that is good starting point. Now, why I took this approach is because I wanted to have a very super specific example, then use the AI to make this more general, more abstract idea. Now, I wanted to generalize to the extent that there are statistically significant number of Chris, right? And that's where my market is born. So, I mean, if you look, we have not pulled the date of birth or private information of Chris. We are in general talking about a craft and design engineer who wanted to become an entrepreneur, and he has this general interest, right? And this story will help us to drive into further. So this is our seed idea. This is our seed story, right? And when we go to next step, then we just need to input these two input in the beginning, and then we say fill with AI. So it will help us from that story, from that seed story, appropriate inputs. So this is the company that is targeting Chris is Yegi. Yegi is a software design company for 3D printing software, and this company wanted to target Chris because he's looking for an entrepreneurship career. He wanted to learn about 3D printing softwares, the bulb, the filament that is used in 3D printing. So this company is creating a content or wanted to understand Chris very well, right? There are several use cases. If you wanted to originate a business idea, then you can start with a new idea. You can deep dive into it. You sort of originate an idea. If you already have existing business, you can validate that idea. In the end, what we are doing is we are using AI and behind the scene copywriting formulas to come up with most appropriate answers, right? These are AI sort of suggested most appropriate answers. But I don't want to create expectation from you here that AI is doing some magic and this AI is saying that this is the perfect buyer persona for me. I'll repeat this, right? I'm not using AI here so that AI is looking everywhere and telling me that this is the perfect buyer persona. No CrawlQ, no AI, no copywriter can do that. You have to create a content, push that content to Chris. If Chris books a demo call with you or he buys something from you, that means my copy is working, right? No AI can right now do that job. AI here is only to steer us, to sort of span our idea, to sort of give us more insights where we can generalize this, we can make it as good as possible in a hypothetical representation. So think this as a kind of a laboratory setup where you're setting your buyer persona, you're doing an experiment, you're bringing all the sort of perspectives, a well thought out research, and then you're going on a coffee date with Chris, right? It's just like on a date, you want to prepare as much as possible. So it's a preparation, it's a structured preparation for that coffee date. And if everything works out well, then there's a high probability that the Chris will convert to the things that you wanted to take some action from the Chris, right? So the idea that we put here first, second, when we fill with AI, it comes with its own inputs. So gender is male, Seattle, 3D printing manufacturing is single. And when I say here, generating insights on this, so these inputs are taken and the system generate insights. Insights I wanted to generate because maybe it will give me some more ideas, or it might give me a content idea already. Or when I generate insights, I'm already creating micro contents. These micro contents I can publish on Twitter, I can make my own notes, I can go on other sources, but this goes into detail, like why this role and title is important, who is decision maker, age in years, why we are saying 22-year-old person, maybe it's not 22, but see, is giving you insights or ideas which you can use further and improve the storyline. But these insights you don't need if you know Chris well, right? This is just for you an assistance to get more idea or further deepen your idea or concept about it. Question, so Wills, so if I have their LinkedIn profile, yes, or DIC profile, and Mayor Briggs, yeah, I can get insights to develop a coaching program. Yes, if they have done a test like Mayer-Briggs test, right? You have their LinkedIn profile. This is perfect to sort of work with one person and then generalize this in a way that you can go as deep as possible. Explain again how you can create an innovative business idea. Yes, that is something I have to take another example. Maybe if time permits, I will do that. But going further here, let's say if I pull two seed topics here. So what is best software for 3D printing? There's also a topic of coffee conversation with Chris, because that's what he is interested. This is not I have looked into a keyword tool or anything. I know that when I go on a coffee date with Chris, he wanted to establish his manufacturing unit in 3D printing. And the most important part of 3D printing is the printer itself and the software that is used, right? So I supply these two ideas, fill with AI, and it fills automatically the information. Now, you ask me like how this information is getting here. Yeah, this information is based on our initial seed story, right? And the headlines, sub-headlines, they are created based on the instruction to AI. These are copywriting instructions. So that's why it comes in a very structured headline. So niche pre-headline, attention, students, design professional, craftsmen, engineer, trend spotter buyers. This is AI suggested. It's not I have input this. No, this is suggested by AI. Niche headline, get started with 3D printing manufacturing, discover devices, software, and strategies for rapid prototyping that create realistic images with 3D material. This is headline suggested by Fill with AI. I haven't put it inside. Niche subheadline. If you are an absolute beginner, that's what Chris is, an absolute beginner, and his dream is to establish a career and entrepreneurship with his own manufacturing plant, right? So if you are an absolute beginner, start here with your 3D printing career. That's what all suggested by AI. So what I'm trying to say here, I start with my initial story, rough idea, I optimize it, I take help of AI. AI comes up with headlines and crystallize and optimize idea, which are based on copywriting principles in the backend. So when I say in the backend, it gives an specific information. How should headline should be structured? A headline should have component of state 1 to state 2 and time frame, right? So there are some examples to AI, and based on these examples and initial instructions, it is structured for us a headline. Now, a lot of people are asking me about credit, and that's where it works, because in the background, it has a large instruction, examples. So these are all input, and then it produce some kind of text, and from that text, again, it eliminate the input which is not really good enough, right? So what we are showing in front, what you see in front of your eyes is these words, but to produce these words, there is a lot of processing in the backend. And that's why there has to be some way where we can sort of minimize this, right? And that's where I think a lot of people have difficulty in understanding this, but that's another topic. Rudy says, what should I write in company size if my avatar is parent, mother or father? One single person, right? Company size is one. This will work even if you're in a B2C or talking to directly to one person. In this case, if that avatar is parent or child or anyone, so it's one in this case, right? You don't need to have all the time insights, because if you know, okay, I'm super specific, I know my trade, I have coffee date, then you can put some of these yourself in the beginning. But you want to also try with AI and see how the suggestions comes up. Finally, I will touch on this category because these are 1, 2, 3, 4, the niche, demographics, semantics, psychographics. These are the fundamental category. You know 80-20 principle, right? If you have defined this, you have done 80% of the work, and you can go then as deep as possible. It's your time, it's your specific topic, because some topic really need to go deep dive. Like if you're talking about dog training or dog food, you don't need to go deep because this is sufficient to bring an article or any type of variations. But if you are talking about a really specific topic, right? And here 3D printing was very, very specific, and that's why I chose this topic. You can go as deep as you want. You can go into who are the competitors, enemies, what suspicion, fears, failures your Chris has in the past, what kind of business desire he has, personal desires, what podcast he goes to or listens to, say Slack group, Facebook group, YouTube channel. Once you put true information filled with AI, generate insight, you will get lot and lot more information. But this is not a fill in the blank exercise. If you are thinking like, hey, let's go fill this and then magic will happen, that's also I wanted to manage expectation, because buyer persona is an ongoing approach. It's like you understand Chris, you get feedback from Chris, you input this feedback. So I designed this it seems overwhelming, but I designed this approach to work forward, not work one time. That's not the idea. Don't work on it one time. Work only forward. So you collect this information, create some content, ship it to the Chris. Chris gave you feedback. You pull in that feedback here, and you put that feedback, and you start working on it. It's like a work in progress, and that's why I think I need to have better communication. But on to this call, I wanted to make you aware that it's not like a fill in the blank exercise. It's really the idea here is we are setting an experimental setup in a laboratory. We are testing our idea. We are reaching out to Chris. We are getting feedback from Chris. And be your salesperson, be your founder, or you are creating some content. You have to go through this process. You cannot like filling this everything with AI. It's not possible that you still will resonate with this person, because the evidence, the proof that it is working is Chris. Unless Chris book a demo call with you, you cannot say that's working. Even if you used all AI possible, all the data, all AI magic, right? All copywriting approach, until that person comes to you and say, hey, I'm really interested, I'm reading your things, right? Then it's working. So psychographics, I again start with some idea, like a shocking statement. Shocking statement is generally like everyone believes in X, but truth is opposite of X. Here, I see sort of set up an emotional payoff for Chris. So Chris is a trend spotter. He's always interested in spotting a new trend in 3D printing to create $1 million business. This is more like sort of emotional sort of connection with the Chris, right? He is a trend spotter. He's always looking into 3D printing area to create $1 million business. This is his dream. Again, I put these two ideas, I say fill with AI, then it comes all these psychographics. Desire, he wanted to be successful 3D craft and design entrepreneur. That was our seed inputs, right? These seed inputs are now structured into this sort of dialogues, right? He wanted to be authority in 3D printing and design industry. Single big problem. And again, this is generated by AI. It is the hardest thing for me, for Chris in this example, is to find someone who is able to teach Chris how to use a 3D printer. This is biggest problem of 3D printing industry. There's very few people know how to use it. And this will come more often in our problem statement. So problem agitation solution, question. Like even if I wake up and I phone Chris in the night and I show him an article is about what is the future of 3D printing, he will wake up, he will spend like 2 hours reading on it, because this is his dream. He wanted to follow each and every development that is happening in 3D printing. How much resonating, think about it. It will be this topic, what is the future of 3D printing? Because this person wanted to make a career in 3D printing. Even if I do this in the night and call him and I say, hey, I have written some words, what is the future of 3D printing? He will read it. And this is not, again, I have written it, it's suggested from AI. So that's what I'm saying, it has some copywriting structure, instruction in the background. You start with rough idea, you save this information. If you wanted to further optimize on it, get new ideas, you can generate insights. Sometimes these insights are hit and miss. That's where we are working to make them more better and better. When they are hit and miss, still between the brackets, somewhere in the line, there is a golden nugget. And that's what I'm looking for from these insights. These insights are not that I can just copy paste and work with it. It's always there is something which is super, super specific, and it sort of lightened the bulb in me. And I wanted to pick that up because it's really unique thing I wanted to bring into this context. See, so I can further optimize them even if they are suggested by AI. Single big roadblock. One of the 3D printing industry's biggest roadblock is that it can be hard to find a company or person who want to take on an apprentice. Believe me, this is the real roadblock in 3D printing because there is a lot of demand. A lot of people want to make career in 3D printing industry, but because it's very hard to establish a company because it needs a lot of capital, money, and these equipments are expensive. So there are hardly few companies who can provide you an internship or an opportunity to learn this. So this is a roadblock. 10. Trying to find a job in 3D printing industry without training is a very big pain, and we can resonate very well with the Chris if we start talking about this, right? It goes and goes like secret. Again, I say if you have little money, then it's very hard to start 3D printing industry. Mistakes that Chris have made in the past. Single big feature, benefit, positive value, negative outcome. So this is quite extensive. These are the first fundamental blocks. And once you are done with this, you can go to next step. But then I wanted to take some question before that. Okay.
Could you talk for a minute about saving this in a way that you then do something with it? What's the process for that?
So you mean if I save this, right?
Yeah.
And
where does it go?
Is when I save this is saved in the database. So every argument that you are putting here, think of this as a library of concepts or context, which you're here you have a rack or almirah behind, and you're putting these concepts there. It's taking them in a structured way. And now I'm going to shift my story to Athena. Athena is in like internal AI. So I go to dashboard. What I do with this is like I ask Athena to power up. That means I can also add a web URL, which is sort of talking about 3D printing. It can be an authoritative subject, or it can be something that Chris already mentioned to me that, hey, this is something which is quite good, or maybe from my domain knowledge, because I'm the company, I'm making the software, I know what is the best web page information, or even my own website. So I can add that URL and say power up Athena. What is happening in the background here is the information that we already saved and the information that we will grab from that web page. Both are converted into sort of a file where you can draw it easily. So when I get the information from web page, we are turning those content into concepts, and then questions are generated. So concepts are answered, not from the competitor content, but in the context where I did the research. So there's a difference. I will repeat this. So when I get a URL content, the content is used to create questions, and think of these questions as a concept. And I wanted to have answers of this concept in alignment with my research, which I did on the quiz. So that way, I'm generating a unique information, not I'm copying from that web URL, but I'm generating a unique information in the context of Chris. So I have market research, my own idea of the Chris, and why I'm injecting this URL is to maybe supply more facts, more ideas which I could not think about. And that's what we inject this information at this stage. Because those ideas which were more based on sales and marketing argument, but you want to also introduce some facts, because AI cannot produce facts. AI is not like a real, so it's language model, right? So it can produce arguments like we human produce arguments, but when we need facts, we need to calculate it with the calculator, or we need to search for a database where facts are stored. Facts are real, numbers or stats or insights which are validated, right, by a scientific research. So whenever I pull a URL, I would not pull a sales and marketing argument because that's what I already have done it, right? I wanted to pull something which is more in the direction of facts, numbers, right? And that's what information I want to inject. So imagine that I have done that. I can test it going through this CrawlQ search where now I can search concepts and I can search anything that I wanted to use in my copywriting. Now, this step is not mandatory. It's just to test if things are going in the right direction. So, for example, I say single big pain point. So it understands the meaning in the context of our workspace. Actually, it's not going in the random direction. It's looking for single big pain points. Trying to find a job in 3D printing industry without training. Do you see it's a concept that we had and it has a very high score of 79. That means when I create my content, I don't have to write prompt each time. This Athena will give me concepts. Think of them, think of Athena as agent. These agents are like when I'm in a sales call, they're like some agent is sitting and I'm asking, hey, give me this concept. So I'm borrowing this concept and I'm like on the fly try to create content. So you see, it will pull the information. Similarly, it will pull the information as you develop content. So it's not only on your market research and the URL that we get, but further when you create content that are also centralized. And every time you use the app more, it create more and more opportunity for you to borrow the concepts. That's how I wanted to explain Athena. Athena is agent. Athena is ready to give you concept when you ask it. So concepts are keywords, topics, and I can turn something like say, let's say, define 3D printing, or I can have a bigger query also. So any type of thing that roadblock, pain point, everything, right? I can get these concepts and I can use this in my copywriting. When I say I can, that means when I actually do the blog content, it is designed in the backend that these information are pulled in the right way, right?
Harish,
Yes.
I do have a question. Basically, I'm trying to, what you are creating with Athena is a context completely in the context of 3D printing, right? Say like if I say, I mean, just to understand, I mean, so that it will be very clear. If I say like a golf, if I put search for a golf putter here, it should not give me anything in that context, right? Just if you say
again, what you want? What
like a golf club or a dry golf putter.
Yeah. Golf club.
Golf club.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should not give me anything unless in Seattle maybe there is a golf.
Yeah.
Club,
I know.
in the context.
That's good. You know because it is not finding anything in that context, which is good. So it's almost like your own personalized. You feed the data and then you kind of create that space in the GPT-3, and then it gives you only the answers where you created the context, which is really powerful. Yeah. It's really, instead of giving too much garbage to read and go through it. So thank you for doing it. Appreciate it.
For example, if I ask niche headline, then you will see that it's 100% match, right?
Yeah.
So as long as I use the same terminology while creating content, it will work good actually.
Yeah.
And the moment I put golf club, you see the score was below 50. Yeah. So we have designed it in a way that when the score is more than, let's say, 85 or 90, then only we'll pick up this. We'll reject it. We'll say, no, don't give me. I only want a concept which is greater than certain threshold. So that way it also saves the credit because it also rejects. It will give you no answer, or it will say, sorry, this is not good. This is not what Chris wants to hear. Sorry, Athena, we don't go ahead with the answer. Then you don't generate that answer. But this is ideal process, and I'm not saying we are exactly there right now. We are evolving and we are going there. But I wanted to show you the power here that we are creating agent which sort of injecting the concept. You're borrowing the concept and you're using it in the in the content creation process. I have questions now from Karma. If you correct the AI, does it learn to speak more in alignment of your avatar? That's what I did right now, right? I can start myself speaking more in alignment with what I did the research, because it's not only AI. AI, you're talking with AI, right? If I start using this language, what is the benefit? What is the benefit to my micro niche? Now I'm using that language which I was using in that market research, right? It will pick up this this information. So when you wanted to align more and more with your avatar, you speak the same language while you're creating the content. When you put in do some inputs, or when I will show you that portion later. But yes, it is possible that you yourself can also drive the AI to speak in the same language. Does answer your question, Karma?
That did. And actually, you answered my question before, but I had already typed it in, so I couldn't take it out.
No worries, no worries. How many
But thank you.
Harish,
And
Yeah.
then what about the workspaces? How many of those can you have? That was my next question.
Yeah. So in the first year, when you have the code, you have 10 workspace. Then in the next 25, and I don't remember on top of my head, but for each code you can have multiple workspaces. And one workspace is dedicated to Chris, but Chris, you can also have a variety of Chris. But in business, tell me, you never change your buyer persona too often, right? You're selling something today to some people. Next day, you can't create a machinery, marketing machinery, sales machinery, website, which can start selling to other person, unless you are an Amazon or something, right? When you are business, you have to speak to a specific buyer persona to get a higher conversion, to get higher resonance. So this setup is one time, and then you draw this concept from Athena every time you create content. And you don't need to do everything one time, because it is not possible to do everything one time. If you do one, what if you invest so much time and if you're completely wrong? So you do only 4 categories, design some content, ship it to Chris, get some feedback, and then go further. Because if you do it one time, it won't work, because you have lost the opportunity to incorporate that feedback which will come from Chris. And that was my frustration. That's why I started developing this tool, because I'm by profession, I'm product design engineer. And everyone asked me, hey, your product, when you develop, should sell itself. And then this was the question I investigated a lot. And there is marketing machine which works, there's a sales machinery which works, and then there is no feedback from these people when I design my product. So that's where, as a product design engineer, I wanted to have a system where I start with my messaging together with marketing and sales, and then get a feedback into this process and inject this feedback into CrawlQ again, coming back again. So that what will happen, I will continuously optimize my buyer persona. I will learn new insights by injecting this feedback. Make sense?
yes.
Okay, great.
What if you search for some power words like, say, attention or warning? What would it give? Like attention, warning?
Yeah, as long as we have something, right, in
Yeah.
our attention, as long as there is some context, right, it will come. But I don't think we had some context here.
Okay.
You would like to search more like warning and
Yeah.
attention to my niche, something like this. Then maybe it will come up with something interesting. They experience warning and attention to Chris is they experience difficulties to find a 3D printing design and model in Google.
It's pretty good. It's
And
pretty good.
now you see the source has changed. Source is a script. So it means I have created a content which was a sales letter script, and there I got this answer. So There are multiple sources. Market research, when you create more content, those question answer also is getting saved in the database. So more we work with the app, more variety of arguments, dialogues we are creating, and more we we start using it, it will help us because then Athena is training on that. So if you work with like 3-4 scripts, you have more categories, then you can go back and train Athena again. But I won't train it too often because that's what also, if you know this idea of A/B testing, right? In marketing, people call A/B testing. That means that they start messaging and then they change one argument and then see the impact of it. So if you wanted to test your message correctly, you won't train Athena too much. You won't like go and change it too much because you wanted to test message. And that's why this process is evolving process, not like a short-term process. You can use CrawlQ for long-term content marketing strategy because you have here a framework which allows you to validate the message. And then because this validation should happen, otherwise this exercise is just fill in the blank. It's no use if we can't validate it. We have to validate with Chris, not with Google or traffic, because Chris is the person who will give the answer whether this is good or not, right? So I hope this explanation was good to get understanding of Athena and how it works. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Is it, Arish? I mean, is it safe to say that you are building a good marketing asset at some point of the time, which you can even sell it to somebody, like when you build your workspace with the personas, everything in it, and then would you say it as an asset?
Yeah, I would say this is a startup which I am building right now here. This is a startup. I am validating the idea. I can create a smoke screen website with I can show you a topic. There was a question like how to validate a business idea. I started the rough idea of some restaurant owner. He wanted to change website. And then I went into this. And then some innovative idea was suggested by AI. And then I ended up with the idea that this restaurant owner, he wanted to find a funnel builder who can help him to design the website in such a way that these C-suite executives who are working from home can order chefs to come to their home and cook, right? I don't know if this is an idea already existing, but during the COVID, you can imagine that there are so many people who were used to dining outside. They were having this luxurious dining experience every day, meeting with the clients. They are now behind the screen, behind the Zoom call. They don't get quality food. They are suffering from health issues. They don't have this dining experience. So you can come up with a restaurant website and a funnel, a specific funnel, which only cater to C-suite executives. And these C-suite executives can order not food, but chef who goes to these C-suite executives' home and create a dining experience for them, like 5 right? So that I don't know if that idea exists. This was my husband.
I saw that idea and said, is it really available?
You can search.
It's a good idea, though. It's a good idea. Yeah,
right.
It's a good idea.
So it's an idea origination, idea validation, A/B testing, and another thing that then differ from this tool and other tool. And of course, every tool has its own idea. But here, what you are doing is every time you want to create content, then you don't have to think again because this is all stored here. These all arguments are there in the drawer. Like you are asking Athena to give me these arguments, right? So you don't need to design prompts, and that way you don't need to every time run out of or you will be creating credit, because every time then you have to think about this, Chris, about his problem, pain point, and you are in a good mood today, but maybe you are in a different mood tomorrow, and you might come up with some different angle which will completely sort of distort our whole structure, right? So super specific and be consistent is the framework. By design itself, you will be super specific and you will be consistent in your messaging, right? as compared to something else where you have to come up every time with the prompt. Other difference is that most of the AI tools are designed, AI content writing tool are designed for the SEO strategy. So fetching the Google data, in this tool also we will do that, but fetching the Google data and optimizing some sort of keyword strategy, so you get a traffic. So that idea will bring you traffic, and that's good because then you can apply another layer to convert that traffic. But most of the time, you're not super specific there because you have started with keyword, you can bring a lot of traffic. But what if we don't have a message which is resonating all the pages? You have about us page, you have a team page, you have how it works page, and there are so many pages. And if this story is not connected, not specific, not consistent, then this traffic will come and not convert, right? So here our idea is to create a website dedicated to Chris, and then with the help of AI, we are testing it. We are creating statistically significant number of Chris, and then if we start resonating with them and if Chris start liking our content and many Chris start liking our content, then Google will also rank it. That's an hypothesis that of course we need to build with a case study, right? And that will differ for each person. Can you show how to write original content from these relevant articles, a writing platform built in? Yeah, so I'll then shift to that. So first part here was more like research, one-time setup of the workspace. We extracted all the argument that we wanted to use during our coffee meeting with Chris, right? And now we can go to content automation, where we can start with the blog, or we can go to a sales copywriting. Sales copywriting, here we are specifically talking about sales letters, emails, video scripts, teaching course, or emails, right? So these are different scripts. And once you pick up one script, you can go into, like for example, sales letter. There are many sales letters like Fred Stone's, Michael Fortin's, Michelle Fortin's, Clayton McPeace. These are popular copywriters. Dan Kennedy, you might have heard, is a 21 sales letter formula. So if you pick this up, you answer some 2-3 basic questions, and then you say fill with AI. And this fill with AI means then all these questions are answered in the exact way where I was showing you search. Like in the search, I was typing something. So these questions are now going there, and they get a concept, they get a context, and then with the help of AI, an answer is created for this. That's where we saw a source script, right? So these were the sources of the answers from this script. So, well, I can do this demo, but I'm more into, first I wanted to show something using AI content writer. And there was already a blog that I created, and that's the question, like writing original content using this. So again, when you start with the blog, of course, we wanted to make sure that we are working with 3D printing workspace, but still, if you start saying here, golf club in Seattle, then I think it will be difficult for our agent to make a connection with us, right? So still we wanted to say main topic of interest is 3D printing software. My idea is I want to create a content for Chris explaining key challenges for starting a career in 3D printing, something like that. You choose a country and then you can start, you go to next screen, again, 1 or 2 answers, and then you come to a sort of this screen where an outline is already created for you. When I say outline is created, that means AI is coming up, AI is suggesting you an outline, like an introduction, benefit. So don't see the text which is written in between, but the bold headline, the another bold with this another headline, introduction, what are 3D printed business opportunities and their future, right? Benefits of 3D printing. This was the original outline which was suggested from AI, from our initial inputs. And we have now a lot of tools here to develop the original content. And that's the question. Can you show how to write original content from these relevant articles? So we got an initial outline. We can go here as much as detail again with our research. So it gives me, when I have this topic, 3D printing, I can also be super specific here. 3D printing career opportunities. And then it will pull all the relevant topics from Google. And then I have a lot of tools here. So I can start with this generate intro headline. What basically is doing is, again, we are pulling the context from our market research and we are creating a headline and then some content to it. So 3D printing design patterns for craft and art students, right? You see it here. Our niche was craft and art student. So this is immediate reflection. It has not gone into random area. We are creating content for Chris here. You can see it here. 3D printing designing pattern for craft and art students. 3D printing design patterns for craft and art students is a pattern library of 3D printing design pattern, blah, blah, blah. You see it's pulling up the context and an answer. I can generate more headline intro. That headline intro is my seed idea where I wanted to inject here. So for example, one of these I injected here. And this is my starting point. Now I can go as much as deep I wanted to do the research. Here again, there was an headline, 3D printing design pattern, tips and tricks for designing and 3D printing your own jewelry. Now I think this is a new idea which came up, right, with the headline. But this can be still because Chris wanted to have a manufacturing plant, and this can be interesting to Chris as well. And I'm not sure where idea came from jewelry, but maybe somewhere we have answered something or prototyping about something. But still, this is highly relevant to what we are talking here, right? Now we can skim through these headlines as well. These headlines which are coming from competitor content. So 3D printing, industry.com is ranking ranking third on the Google, rank 4. Stratasys.com. You have here, for example, this paragraph. So when you do this, you will see a paragraph. You can expand this. And what you can do with these paragraphs, if this is highly relevant for your case, for example, I would say how it works. Just an example. So this is a good paragraph. And it describes about how the 3D printer is working, right? I can convert this paragraph, this competitor content, into questions. I can also try to get the same URL which I have sort of trained Athena. That is also possible if you really search in the Google a specific term with that URL, right? You can also get that URL here. But this is again research. So I have turned this paragraph into question, and this question I can answer back here. And when I answer, it will be in the context of our market research. We are not duplicating this paragraph. We are not borrowing anything from this paragraph. We are still answering this question in the context of our market research. So what is one of the most basic limitations of 3D printing? One of the most basic limitation of 3D printing is that it can only print what it has been designed. One of the most basic limitations of 3D printing that it has some repetition here, I think. So that's where I think some optimization is needed. But you see the answer was very specific. I can also change this. And because I know I did a research about 3D printing and what is interesting for Chris to talk. So I can draw some inspiration from this content and I can change my questions in the way I want. That's exactly what's question. Can I AI, can I speak in the alignment of my avatar? Yes. Here you can again change the question and I can say write a short story to speak to, sorry, write a short story to speak to Chris. I'm trying this. Let's see what comes. Some lag in my keyboard. Try to Write a short story to speak to Chris on coffee date. I think I have some problem with my, yeah, that's good, that's good. Let's see what comes out. Write a short story to speak to Chris on coffee date. Something went wrong. I was really lonely person. I lived in my own little world, never making any friends or connection with anyone. It was like I was living in a bubble, and only time I could get out of it was when I would drink coffee. Coffee. It has gone a little bit out of context. Was not the right choice because I'm missing word Chris or maybe something, right? But the idea is I wanted to show like real example, like how you can turn this question and still it will take some context and it will try to speak in the same language of what you wanted to speak with the Chris, right? So this is only one part, but suppose you are writing here, you are injecting some content, you are doing a good research. Suppose you are here and you are stuck now. So what you can do is like, you can select this text and say, here, write me Athena. Again, what write me Athena will do, this selected part that you have selected, it will draw a context from the Athena agent and it will try to expand this into another paragraph or another line, right? So again, we are avoiding a problem with other content writer because in some of the content writer, you can just press the button and keep expanding that. But when you expand that text, it uses the memory of the previous paragraph. You see, and Google is calling it Markov chain in technical language. But the idea of the Markov chain is your state 2 is dependent on the state 1. So the new paragraph that you generate is dependent on the previous paragraph. Means it is using the language model's memory, the stored memory of the parameters of the language model to create that text. Here we are breaking that dependency because here when I selected this, I'm not going directly to language model, but I'm going first to Athena, drawing the context, and then asking the language model fresh to answer, right? If I would have just replicated the language model like GPT-3 and pushed the button, then it is using the memory of GPT-3's knowledge. But we are sort of we are not using that idea. We are using more like our Athena to get the idea and then ask the language model to answer it. So obviously, sometime there could be a break in the logic or relationship, and that's where Google is getting smart. They can detect if the first paragraph is totally dependent on the previous one is dependent on the previous one, then they can detect. But here we lose some structure maybe because maybe some concept is drawn which is not exactly related to the previous one, but still we have this flexibility as a user because it's not totally we have the steering hand, we in our hand we have the steering to drive it where we want, right? And we can expand this. So I think here there are a lot of tools to work and create original content, like your competitor content. You can look at different topics that your competitors are targeting on this. Questions. If there are questions coming from Quora, you can also get them answers here. So you can answer these questions based on your research that you have done. And this again, then you can expand this globe. So these are the questions coming from Quora. This is a product, it is on the product hunt. Then also you get some reviews of a similar product. Like it was kind of a 3D printing handbook, and then people reviewed it. And there are some reviews which are coming. Again, I think this is important to mention. You have your market research here all the time. So if you're stuck, if you don't know, you can always refer back to Chris and our story that we have created. Every argument is tagged here, it is available here. If our Athena has failed to bring it up, we can always refer back and start speaking in the same language as we have done. So if you say single big secret, single big mistake, single big feature, single big benefit, and rewrite those questions, it will exactly fetch this information and expand on it. So I'm trying to get this more prominently because it is hidden here, but I think this should be somewhere in the very first step where you can immediately see what research you have done on the Chris. And if it is in front of your eyes, then it's easier because then you will start same language as you have already stored before. I have a question here. Do you have users that are using CrawlQ to write ebooks as a business? Some of the users have started and they're saying they have not created ebooks, but long form videos sales letter or sales letter, because there are sales letter, and these sales letter, once you expand them, you can also create them as an ebook, because sales letter is quite long. And the way sales letter is created is, again, it's not like you are ready to publish them as it is. When I say sales letter, it is structured as a sales letter with all the argument, and it's 80% ready, and it is something similar like this. So you can again inject more arguments, fine tune it, and make it 100% ready for publishing it. But imagine a sales letter with all the copywriting structure ready, 80% is itself quite a big achievement, because then you still have some remaining legwork which you can finish with this approach, exactly this approach which I'm working for a blog. So if you see on a high level, what we tried here is to bring these two disciplines together. One discipline is conversion copywriting, another discipline is SEO copywriting. Still in the SEO copywriting, we are not using keyword approach. We are using more buyer persona based approach, like Chris Fred approach, right? So we have not touched any keyword or things, but if you optimize your content, if you're conscious of this, that you wanted to also cover topics which our competitors are covering, then of course you can look back here and there are some scores also. So in this particular article, for example, which I'm developing here, I have almost my score is can be 100, so I have to still cover many words which my competitors are using. So I can also use this approach to create an SEO optimized content, but my goal currently is to optimize it for Chris. And first I want to optimize for Chris, and in this process I can touch other topics also, then my score will be higher. I don't want to get to 100%, but maybe 60-70% is good enough, because then I also covered all the topics that my competitors are talking. But because this blog is super specific to Chris, and Chris' desire to become an entrepreneur and establish his own manufacturing unit, and I'm a company, so I'm targeting very specific content, Chris. So I'm not expecting it to maybe having a good score in SEO, but I wanted to make sure that it resonates first with Chris, and then I can come back again and optimize it further for SEO. If I wanted to, my goal is to rank it. So the article I see on the left, yeah, was created by Athena and can tweak it with the tools on the right, exactly. So this, for example, the starting point was this headline intro. I injected this headline intro, and then if I'm stuck at some place, I can say, write me Athena. I didn't press all the button of write me Athena. I sometimes had to change some headline or fit something. So it's not that I'm pushing the button and this text is generating. No, I have researched and I started some idea, and then I'm taking help of Athena to further develop it.
Harish, I do have a question.
Right.
So Athena doesn't have a limitation of 2019 like a GPT-3. This is all current. This is the data we create, right?
Yeah, this is the data you created. It is stored in the Athena. Athena uses context, and it is again speak to a language model. We are not totally dependent on GPT-3. We use GPT-3 also, but we have also our own stuff. So that means regardless of which language model, if I have the structure and this structure is good to talk to language model, then I can always refine this approach, right? So this internal layer is important, because this language model, you just feed in garbage in, garbage out. But if I have an idea to structure this information, then I will get very specific content. And of course, this vision is not like 100% implemented. We are working hard to improve the outputs or prompts or inside, but you see the basic mechanism is this structure which collect the information in a way which is instructed by copywriting formulas. When I say copywriting formulas, it's just an like instruction to AI to how to write an headline, how to define a niche, how to sort of structure the mass desire, how to word them, right, in the way where the copywriters would be doing it in their copy. So this is like a basic sort of AI copywriter in the backend, and this is an agent which is providing us information while we create content.
Big vision, big vision. It is.
Yes, I hope this become a unique way to bring this convergent copywriting and search engine copywriting in one place, and it's different than the approach that you might have with SEO content writing tool, because here we wanted to set up a sort of experiment and then continuously build our dialogue with Chris, right? Every time we go to Chris, we have new insight, we put this insight back, and then we are continuously optimizing our date conversation with Chris. So that's this idea, right?
Awesome, awesome.
Any more questions?
Would you say how do the credits work again?
So when I say credits, that means there is an not sure if it's today available, but we sort of circulating this every time when you say power of Athena, you consume one time 600 credit, and then this is based on the words. So not exactly, you see, it can be 1,000 word or even 2,000 word, but we sort of did some research, like what should be the minimum basic requirement, so that it's completely have some minimum basic requirement benchmark. So it's sometimes we say that credits are equal to word, but believe me, this is not exactly true, because sometimes you have full stop, comma. I have not designed a system where it exactly read the words how much you, because it's very hard to create such a limit where you exactly count the word, because sometimes you get repetitions, sometimes with AI it's very difficult to control what output you get from AI. Sometimes you get full stop, comma, some spaces. You don't want to count that word. So we just did some research. Based on this, we say, okay, this is minimum, and then multiply it by 0.7. So still, when you say 600 credit cost for this, this is processing more than 2,000 words, or it depend on that log where it pull the information, convert them into questions and answers. So these credits are like minimum sort of limits in risk management. I come from risk management background, so any kind of investment you do, right? Being as a trader, you can expose yourself, but if you also implement limits, then you don't go bankrupt. This is credits are limits for CrawlQ to not to go bankrupt. If you see my point, these limits are like risk management technique to make sure that it's not an unlimited option, because for you are one user, but there are we had 2,500 early adopters, like who joined us so far. If you can see early adopter, if they are only 60, 70, 80, then it's okay. But we have so many people, and if they start unlimited drawing on this, then the servers and the cost is too high, cannot pay with the situation. And lifetime deal, always is sort of, it covers only 2-3 months of expenses, and then later on it's a kind of perpetual loss for the company. So after lifetime deal is over, we will need to get the recurring monthly customers to offset this, right? So there was quite a big, of course, a misunderstanding from people, because when we started, we had 10,000 page limit, and you can see now in this setup, it's very hard to define what is a page, because when we started this first vision, we didn't have the idea to automate everything in market research, because most of the niche research you have seen in the current market, be it funnel script or any other niche copywriting software, it asks you to feed yourself information. But then when we started this, a lot of users start complaining that we cannot fill this information. So we thought, okay, let's try to fill this information with AI. But then it was not successful because AI cannot come up with the inputs in a structured way. So then we have to create large instruction to AI, which is in terms of copywriting formula and examples, that this is headline example. And that itself consumes a lot of words, which goes to the model, which and then it gives back us, right? So what happened in this process, we have sort of tripled or maybe 10x our vision, initial vision, which we didn't thought. And then this vision, we communicated all this value and we were excited about it, but we never talked to our customers about the cost associated with it. So when we converted this 10K page limit, which was originally fitting into that vision, but when we converted this into the credit limits, which is not exactly word to word, one credit is not equal to one word, I can tell you, and you can see yourself when you generate insights or these things. You can count and then see if it is exactly. No, it is not. But we did some of our own analysis and tried to do risk management on it. And that the mistake happened is that we didn't communicate about this change from 10. We thought we are bringing a lot of value because in the original sort of idea of the deal, there was no Athena, there was no headline intro, there was no question answer kind of pattern. There was this whole mechanism of connecting market research with the content was very limited with just only headline generation, very limited interaction. But we created this machine to interact between market research and content. And that's why we need to come up with some of these credits, because there's a lot of AI sort of going on behind. We have to train this model, keep on GPUs, and I think I don't want to speak technical language, but I wanted to make sure that you understand this has a recurring cost, and the idea of the credits is to have a risk management approach, because it's just a financial instrument. If you see, if you don't have you have option, if you have a stock and on that you have option, that option can go into unlimited if you don't have a strike price or something. I'm not speaking in the financial language, but you see, it's a kind of unlimited drawdown on any credit or loan. When you go to a bank, you have a limit on the loan where you can draw it, right? Otherwise, if bank have no limit, then bank will go bankrupt. The same idea here. The credit is designed so that we don't go bankrupt and we can still use CrawlQ every month. So I hope that answers your question.
So if you wanted to get more, what do you do?
So every month these are recurring. Same way as bank, like credit card is a recurring, right, limit. This is a recurring limit. It will be reset. Like this plan where I'm working, I think it's third or fourth code, so it's 80K credit. And I, by doing this lot of demos and workspaces, I have consumed 32 in this month, but again, it will be 80K in the next month, right? And if you are still close to the limit, you can purchase additional 5K in app. We have not yet implemented that, but you should be able to purchase it when you are running out of it.
Okay.
But I can assure you that these are sufficient credit, because you don't want to blindly fill everything and start it, because you wanted to give it a sort of validation feedback loop. Like you wanted to create something, ask to Chris, validate it, and then go further. I will not suggest, and I will repeat it, I will not suggest to fill all information one time. Only the first 5 categories, train Athena, change it, check if you are going in the right direction with this, right? You will get the feeling if you're going in the right direction. Do you need more information? And you can go as super specific as you want. But I'm sure it's not an easy idea to understand with everyone who are not coming from an marketing background, because in marketing you need to test your ideas. You need to test whether this is making resonance with your target audience or not. And this is a structured way to implement that framework or idea. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Harish, it is not just with the CrawlIQ. I mean, AI industry, AI writing, most of the companies are having the same thing they're dealing with, credit limits, and then, LTDs and the first initial adopters. Everybody is going through that, most of the AI writing stuff.
Right.
If it makes you feel better.
So thank you everyone for this, having your time and giving me opportunity to explain you how it works. And hopefully you can make very good use of this, maybe innovating a new business idea of sending chefs to C-suite executives home, or having your own coaching class or business, writing an ebook which you can sell later, or just playing with it and maybe come up with an idea which you can sell later, right? So I hope this whole hard work can make you some return out of it. Definitely, I'm confident about that.